Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are all enjoying GBL, whatever you're choosing to play. Today I thought we'd just try out Aegislash, and really quickly before I begin, I want to give a shout out to Homeslice Henry because I did get the idea of using Regidrago with Aegislash from him. So definitely go and check out his videos. I was watching videos from other content creators before I went in and used Aegislash just to get an idea of how it works and what Pokemon pair well with it. And yeah, I felt like Regidrago and Aegislash had really good synergy together. Regidrago will be able to resist any fire types that Aegislash is going to be weak to. It's also neutral against most of the ground types in the meta. And Aegislash is a steel type, so it's going to be good against fairy types that Regidrago is going to be weak to. It's also going to be pretty decent versus some ice types. But Aegislash was nerfed. Oh, well, it wasn't nerfed. It was released super overpowered. It had like really high defense where nothing you did to it would like damage it. And apparently that's not how it was intended to be released. People were using it in Master League and it looked extremely overpowered, but ever since they fixed it, it's not overpowered anymore. I would say it's just okay. I do wish in some situations that it had a little bit more bulk, but not as much bulk as it had before, because that was a nightmare. Yeah, but it is a little bit annoying to use because you don't get any fast move pressure when you're using Aegislash. So we are going to take a look at it today. My final verdict on whether it's good or not is it's just okay. It fits on some teams. I really did feel like I had to make it work. Like I really had to try hard to make it work. So I don't know if I would recommend it for climbing. We're still trying it out, and you guys might notice that my battles today are a little bit messy because I'm just trying to figure this Pokemon out. But in the end, I do end up using two different Regidrago double steel teams. So the first one I used was Regidrago with Shadow Scissor and Aegislash in the back, and I was really struggling against Talonflame, so I switch out the Scissor for Shadow Steelix. Now, really quickly, I did discover from the battles in this video that in the current meta, Regidrago Double Steel is good in general. So today I've been using Regidrago Shadow Scissor and Shadow Steelix instead of the Aegislash, and that's been going really well for me so far. So if you guys want to use that team, you can try it out. If you guys want to use one of these teams with Aegislash as well, go ahead, and if you have your own teams that are working with Aegislash, let me know in the comments below. Pay no attention to the terrible IVs I have on my Pokemon. This is another situation of I had it, so I built it. For Aegislash, I actually traded one from an account that I'm great friends with, and it ended up being lucky, which is so annoying. I was really hoping to get PvP IVs, but it went up to 1,500 CP, so I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna use it. If I run into any other Aegislash, which I actually didn't, no one is using this Pokemon, then I win CMP. And for Regidrago, I have traded a few, but none of them have been good for Great League, so I just went with one that had a background from the events, you know, because the background's gonna help me so much in PvP. Anyways, let's just jump into these battles. In this match, we are up against a Mandibuzz on the lead. I want to try to get this really low before bringing in Scissor and potentially farming it down. Actually, we do end up taking it out, which is really good. Our opponent was at the move there, but then our opponent brings in their own Scissor. Okay, I think I'm just going to come in with my Scissor and try to go for a farm down here. I will go for the Night Slash to get shields out of the way. We get a shield, that's good. And our opponent lets us farm them down. Okay, their final Pokemon is a Credilli. This is the best case scenario for me because our opponent has no shields left. Aegislash absolutely walls Credilli. Every single move is resisted, and even if our opponent is going to debuff us, this Flash Cannon is going to one-shot this Credilli because Aegislash in its blade form does so much damage, and we are easily going to take that win. Now, moving on to the next battle, we are up against a Shadow Dragonite on the lead, and I have to swap out because I need to draw out a potential fire type. Now, I do go ahead and shield here, and guess what? Our opponent has the Talonflame in the back. I have to go for a Night Slash to try to damage this. It lands, and then I make it to the Breaking Swipe. Hopefully, I could get some shields out of my opponent. Yeah, we get one shield. And I have to shield the move from the Talonflame because I need to get it lower. I end up catching the next fly on my Aegislash, and I think they would have been in farm down range for us, but unfortunately for me, our opponent's final Pokemon is a Jellicent. So we were really hard countered in this game. Our opponent had a Jellicent in the back for our Aegislash, and they had the dreaded Talonflame, which her backline was absolutely annihilated by. So I'm just gonna go ahead and top left. So this set was a 3-2, which is all right. At least it's a positive set, and at least we're not losing with Aegislash. Actually, for the most part, I think I didn't get too many losses. I was just kind of staying in my place in terms of elo, but at the end, I do get a really nice positive set. Anyways, moving on to the next battle, this team with Greninja on the lead and Dusclops on the save swap, I have been seeing a lot, and I think it's a flyer in the back, most likely Jumpluff, we'll see. But I have been seeing this team a lot. I don't know whose team it is, but I am gonna assume that someone reached Legend with this team, which is why a lot of people are running it. And I'm kind of happy that a lot of people are running it because I ran into it a lot today, and I am running Regidrago Double Steel, which does really good against it, unless my opponent has a Talonflame in the back, which is sometimes a little bit tricky. In this case, it looks like they have a Shadow Drapion in the back, which is really not good for me. So let's see how this goes. I am going to let the Crunch go, and I think I messed this up, or, oh no, never mind. There was a game where I tried to bait with a Shadow Ball and our opponent no shields. It does nothing to them, but I do go for the Flash Cannon here. We get our opponent's final shield, and then I am going to bring in Regidrago. I do reach that Dragon Energy, which should be enough to take out this Drapion, and we actually managed to Dragon Breath the Greninja down and take that win. On to the next battle, we are going to be up against a Jellicent on the lead. I was struggling a little bit against Jellicent, especially with the previous team, but we do go for a Breaking Swipe here, really hoping to get a debuff. We get the debuff, but I am going to shield the Shadow Ball anyways. So we shield the Shadow Ball, and then our opponent brings in a Regidrago of their own. But we are not running Breaking Swipe, so I go for a Psychic Fangs here, and 2 Dragon Energies are going to be enough to take our Steelix out. I go for another Psychic Fangs, which is not enough. They survive with 1 HP, really annoying, but I don't want to give up my final shield, so I just let Steelix go, and I am going to come in now with the Aegislash to get a little bit of a farm down. Now, my opponent has 2 shields left, which is really annoying when Aegislash is one of the Pokemon that you have left on your team. I'm going to go for a Shadow Ball to potentially get one of the shields from my opponent, but they let it go, and their final Pokemon is a Gligar. I messed this up. Okay, I am going to tell you right now, I messed this up because my opponent ends up baiting with an Aerial Ace against her Aegislash, and they make it to the Drill Run. If I had just called the Aerial Ace here, which my opponent is going to go for, then I think I would have won this because Aerial Ace is not going to be enough to KO. But of course, if they make it to that dig, it will take us out. So our opponent ends up taking that win. If I had just called the Aerial Ace, then maybe I had a chance there. Okay, moving on to the next battle, we are up against an Abomasnow on the lead. I swap out immediately into my Shadow Steelix. And then our opponent swaps out into a Shadow Dusknoir, and we're actually able to land the Crunch and Thunderfang them down. And then my opponent goes ahead and top lefts, which is nice because I'm not sure what I would have been able to do with the Aegislash with still 2 shields up. All right, moving on to the next battle. We are going to be up against a Diggersby on the lead, which is really, really tough. I have to weaken this Diggersby with Regidrago as much as I can. I'm going to go for a Breaking Swipe, really hoping for an attack debuff. We don't get the attack debuff, so I am going to let the Scorching Sands go. And I'm just going to tap the Breaking Swipe before my opponent makes it to another Scorching Sands. Now, based on how much health they have left, yeah, I just let the next Scorching Sands go as well. And I think I am going to go ahead and shield my Shadow Steelix here. I really need to try to get rid of this Diggersby. So I get them a little bit low, I farm up a little bit more energy, and then I throw the Psychic Fangs. Our opponent's final Pokemon is a Shadow Primeape, and I think this is another game, again, where I mess up. I'm still trying to learn how Aegislash works. But now watching this back, I am really annoyed because this set could have been a 5-0 if I had not made mistakes. So here I am going to let the Rage Fist go, and I think I go ahead and shield the next one. Okay, our opponent brings in a Jellicent. They go for a Surf here rather than building up to the Shadow Ball, and I have to build up to full energy on Aegislash, and this is where I mess up. I go for the Shadow Ball, and then I forget that in the Blade form, my defense is dropped. So I needed to swap out into my Steelix. I think I could have survived 2 Karate Chops from the Primeape if I went back into my Shield form. But I completely forget that in Sword form, Aegislash is absolutely made of paper, and our opponent ends up Karate Chopping both our remaining Pokemon down. And moving on to the next battle, we have so much lag in the beginning. Our opponent gets a really big head start on energy there, which is unfortunate for us. They're able to make it to 2 foul plays, and I think I am just going to let my Regidrago go. At least I was able to get a Dragon Energy off on this Mana Buzz, and my plan was to come in with Steelix and farm it down, but our opponent actually swaps out into Credilli, and now I will come in with Aegislash. Again, absolutely walling this Credilli. I'm just going to go for the Flash Cannon as soon as I reach it. We end up CMP tying, which is not great, but still the Flash Cannon is going to KO even though our attack is debuffed from the Rock Tombs. And then expecting that Mana Buzz to come back in, I swap out immediately into my Steelix. Okay, I have 2 shields left. My opponent has 2 shields left. I let the foul play go, and it looks like our opponent's final Pokemon is a Shadow Scissor, which is so good for us. I'm just going to go ahead and double shield our Steelix, and then I should be able to Thunder Fang this Scissor down. And our opponent is going to go ahead and top left. So we do end up with a 3-2 in that set, but kind of an annoying set because the 2 losses definitely could have been wins if I had just been on my game a little bit better. Now moving on to the next battle, we are going to be up against a Golisopod on the lead, which, I mean, I'm just going to stay in here with my Regidrago. Obviously, we can't take 2 X-Scissors, but I am going to take the first one. And then our opponent swaps out into a Diggersby, which is so good for us. I am going to stay in here with Regidrago because I need to damage this as much as I can before swapping into one of my back Pokemon. I was hoping they would let me make it to the second Breaking Swipe, but they didn't. They take us out with a Fire Punch, and then I decide to come in with Aegislash. Okay, we can handle the Scorching Sands pretty well. Unfortunately, they did get a debuff on our Aegislash, but I should be able to go for a Shadow Ball and KO this Diggersby. I mess up here and I end up CMP tying. I have to admit something. I still don't know how the damage values on Aegislash work. Like, I was thinking, does the shield form have a different damage value than the sword form? How does that work, and which value does it take? If you CMP in shield form and if you CMP in sword form, is it different? Anyways, every time I was CMP tying, obviously I was losing CMP, and that was a mistake on my part. However, they end up having a Dedenne in the back, and because we have a Shadow Steelix left, our opponent goes ahead and top left. So we get lucky in that game. In the next game, we get a Greninja lead, so I was expecting a Dusclops safe swap, but our opponent ends up swapping into a Tentacruel. And the reason it takes me a long time to figure out what I want to do here is because it's running Poison Sting, so it will be able to spam out the Scalds. And I know that Steelix might not be able to survive 2 Scalds, so I decided to bring in my Aegislash. I am going to go for a Shadow Ball here to take it out. And then I swap immediately into Regidrago, expecting my opponent to bring that Greninja back in, but it ends up being a Shadow Scissor. We're still in a good position because I can go ahead and no-shield our Shadow Steelix against the Shadow Scissor and save both shields for the Greninja to Thunderfang it down, but our opponent goes ahead and top lefts and gives us the win. Moving on to the next battle, we are up against a Chestnut on the lead, and it looks like our opponent had a little bit of lag at the beginning of this battle, but they swap out into a Shadow Drapion. I stay in a little bit just to weaken this Drapion because I know if I come in with my Steelix, I'm just going to have to take Aqua Tail after Aqua Tail from it. But we are able to Thunderfang them down and come out of that with quite a bit of energy so that we could go for 2 Psychic Fangs against the Chestnut. Our opponent actually lets the second one go. They are in the red now. And I decide to shield the superpower to keep my Regidrago healthy because for some reason, I don't know, I was like, what if they had a fire type in the back? That wasn't even like an obvious choice for me, but I get super lucky because we shielded the Regidrago. I'm able to shield one of the moves from the Typhlosion that they have in the back, and then we can Dragon Breath the Typhlosion down and take that win. This next match is a straight up loss for us because our opponent is running ABA Ground, which is very, very good against the team that we are running. Now, they have a Shadow Marowak on the lead, which is already going to be such a difficult Pokemon for me to deal with. They swap out of it into a Shadow Galarian Weezing. I am going to bring in my Steelix and try to take this out. And here, I'm just praying that I live another Brutal Swing because I really need to get this Psychic Fangs off. Thankfully, we live with 1 HP. We can go for the Psychic Fangs, take the Galarian Weezing out, but then my opponent's final Pokemon is a Diggersby. And then, of course, I mess up big time here. And I'm like, what if I bait with Shadow Ball against a Diggersby that is quadruple resisting Shadow Ball? Well, that was a really bad idea because my opponent obviously no-shielded it. They still have a really healthy Marowak in the back, so they really have no reason to shield Flash Cannon. It's not even going to KO the Diggersby. So that was a terrible idea. Obviously did not end well for me, but either way, I was not going to win this match. So I am going to go ahead and top left. Yeah, great. Good game. Now this is going to be the final battle that we have in this video. So I am going to go ahead and sign off here, but Aegislash does end up clutching this game for us, but it only clutches because our opponent makes some questionable choices with their shield. So we're able to get their final shield with our Steelix. And with both shields down, Aegislash is absolutely going to wreck our opponent's backline. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys like my content, please consider subscribing. Maybe leave a like, it helps me out so much. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye bye.